This is 𝗕ន់populi, podcasts for the people.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, how you doing, Larry?
Good, man. How are you?
Oh man, I woke up today. I've been blessed.
Yeah. That's what my one prayer I say every day is that yesterday is history, today is a gift, and tomorrow may never come.
Exactly, man. Exactly, and being self-aware enough that we get to another day to do good, to do
That's
something,
right.
do something, anyways, right?
Absolutely. I had so much fun talking to you the other day on the phone. So I was looking at all your stuff. I got to spend. This is my last big push on my podcast, and then I'm done for a couple of months. And I was looking at some of that stuff you do up there in Canada. Oh my God. Like I do cold plunge and I struggle with cold plunge. Like every time I get in there, I can't imagine getting in that ice water with y'all breaking the ice. It just looks bad.
Well, when I started doing this, I was about 9 years ago. Honestly, Larry, it was just the most painful thing. I'm pretty thin, right? So for people, it's even worse, because without volume in that heat. But one thing, because I train special forces to use this as a tool. But what we see right now is that people have a hard time with it because they can't progress with it. And the reason why they can't progress is that people aren't being taught how to do it properly, because it can be something that can be one of the most powerful tools, but there's this kind of intricate little nuances that you use it as a simulator almost, right? Like a flight simulator for. So I use it as a fight simulator for the special forces, but I mean, we're all in a battle.
Oh
there.
Yeah, we haven't started yet, but yeah, my publicist is all walking in going, "Hey, don't." Yeah.
Do it.
We'll be fine. So you're going to be my first guinea pig, Dan. So what we do is we try to do 45 minutes. When we're closing, I'm going to ask you, do you think you were born or made? That's how we close out every podcast. Okay. I'm going to try to integrate breaks at 10, 20, and 30 minutes. And I'm just going to, hey, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to count to 5, and then we're just going to keep going.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. So it may be screwed up, but you're going to be our guinea pig. So because you're so flexible, we thought, we're going to do it with you. So
flexible. Yeah, that's me. I'm flexible for sure. Just did yoga.
Oh, there we go. Look at him. He's like going to pull everything into something healthy.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. Yeah, we're good. I think we're getting ready. Yeah, we're right on schedule. Let's do it.
You got a great setup there, Larry. I love that. Where is that?
This is in Boca. It's 𝗕ន់populi, and it's a studio that you can come in. They do everything for you. They edit it. They do everything super cheap.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yep. Okay. All right. 5, 4. Here we go. Your beard looks amazing.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Welcome to the Born or Made podcast.
Thank you so much, Larry, for having me. It is an absolute pleasure to be here, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I always try to start off kind of light. So where am I actually talking to you from? What part of the world?
I'm actually in a place called Mallorytown, Ontario. It's just outside of the town that I grew up in, just a small town. This one's actually even smaller. It's like not even 1,000 people, I think. And we have our nature's retreat and wellness center that I do all my retreats and a lot of my events. We live out here on the land, and we have the whole thing set up here. So it's nice and quiet, so people can come out here and disconnect, Larry.
Yeah. I guess you don't have a lot of Wi-Fi and 5G, huh?
Well, you know what? I think we don't have the 5G, but we don't. We're using the Elon Musk thing, not plugging his stuff because it's up.
Tell me, until like not even a year ago, I couldn't watch TV at my house hard because I live pretty far out, but not terribly far like you. Yeah, I couldn't watch anything. It was just the circle of death.
Yeah,
exactly. And then we got that. And we are now in the new age of being able to have access to high speed internet.
That's right, man. We can share our gifts to the rest of the world.
So starting with gifts. So you're born up in Ontario, way out in the middle of nowhere. So tell me kind of, where'd you go to school, high school, middle school, grade school? What was kind of your journey?
Yeah, in Brockville, Ontario, just down the road. I went to high school there. I don't remember that. I was I had severe anxiety and depression. It was not the greatest time of my life. Then tried to do the university thing where the counselor told me that I was, I answered some questions and then he spit out what I was doing the rest of my life. I didn't feel comfortable with that. I did go 1 year to university, but being away from home and there was a lot of distractions. Didn't really make it through that. And then I actually worked for my dad's company for a few years and then just ended up getting a job with 3M. Actually, I got a really good job and thought that was what I was going to be.
So why did you have anxiety in high school? What was your deal there? I mean, were you?
Well, it was more anxiety, like from an upbringing. Dad, God love him, loved me as much as he did. He just was extremely intense, and he had a lot of anxiety and I think depression and that kind of. It was just I had a very intense upbringing that brought me a lot of challenges. And Dad, being coming from South America, from Spain via South America, family grew up part of it in Colombia, so came to Canada, and I think he was just trying to make me really tough and prepare for quite the life that I was about to have. But of course, Colombia at that time was a lot more lawless than Canada was.
Yeah, for sure. And still can be arguably that way now. Not as bad.
You gotta be careful. I spent lots of time in South America, Mexico. I lived there, and you just gotta be aware of what's going on around you. That's all.
No kidding. So what were you doing at 3M of all places?
Well, I was in process operations. I had I didn't know what really I was going to do with my life. And everybody says, get a job. And it was a plant job and, and really good money. You're making like $30 an hour back then. That's like,
wow,
30 years ago when I was there, or even more, longer than that. I just thought that's it, have kids, get a house, get married, and then, the picket fence and the dog and all that stuff. But I wasn't happy. And then, obviously I had a lot of, I had issues with my back at that time. I was having some pretty severe back pain. And that kind of culminated into another part of my life that kind of shifted me into a different realm for sure.
So you weren't really into all the physical training or wellness like you are now? I mean,
No, I was into sports. I was gifted. Anything like hockey, anything soccer. I just, very athletic. My parents and my brothers, like my brother actually played pro, and I was just, I was really lucky, but the health part and the wellness part of it, not so much. It was more, just go, no pain, no gain, trying to, get, as much as you can out of it, be the best you can be. But there wasn't a lot of the technologies and the things that they have now to, take that performance to, the next level. And to actually what I'm doing now is performance coaching, helping athletes get to that next level, especially when they hit that bottleneck, when the talent pool is pretty high there. So yeah, anyways.
Yeah, and when you're young, you sprain an ankle or tweak a knee, you just get up the next day and take some ibuprofen and you go. Suddenly you fast forward 20 years, 5 years, that point, you go, oh, wow, that's not healing. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's going to take a month.
Yeah,
and that's what forces a lot of us into that.
No, that's what happened with my back. I was lifting a lot too. And I hurt my back pretty bad, and I didn't rehab it correctly. And that would have been 30 years ago I did that. And then it was just, the hip was turned up. It was explained to me, and then my lower lumbar spine shifted and I herniated a few discs. And then there you go. I'm in bed for a couple of years, actually, when I was at 3M. I spent about the last 2 years I was there in bed, heavily medicated. Of course, the medications were pretty nasty. I got into the 𝗕cie𝗿𝘁𝘁 thing.
You got that one? Did it get a hold of you?
Oh, it got a hold of me, almost tore me down. That's kind of where
Yeah.
I was born, but then I think I started to make myself something something else, because I hit that proverbial rock bottom. You know, the pain was so intense. It started out with Dilaudid or morphine, and then it went to hydromorphone, and then I was introduced to oxys, and then I mean, I would never wish that upon anybody. When I saw those shows on Netflix, the one that came out, even my wife said, "Are you sure you want to watch this?" You know, and I said, "No, I want to watch it because they go down in the end, those guys." I wanted to watch it.
Yeah, because did you actually get hooked on oxy?
Oh, dude, I was at the point where I thought I was having OD, like I was ODing, like I was waking up from these really deep slumbers from, you know, being in it and like choking, like having a hard time breathing. It was like I stopped breathing in my sleep. So, and I was doing the coffins at the end, like, you know, the 50 to 80 milligram ones. And, you know, oh yeah. And it was, I just, you know, I was always like to party and, you know, have some drinks when I was younger. And, you know, up here in Canada, we self-medicate a little bit with the marijuana at the time.
Yeah.
But then it was like this stuff, like, I mean, you know, no problem. You got to work. And then on the weekend, have some fun. But this stuff was just, I mean, that's why it was an epidemic, man. It was, yeah, some pretty shady things went on behind the scenes to get a lot of us like that. And you know, I'm an advocate of all this holistic stuff, because I've helped so many people now get off oxy, get off opioids, get off drugs, using, you know, the techniques that I use in my holistic programs. So yeah, it was an interesting time, but you know, I look back at it and it made me unbelievably strong. I'll just give you a quick one. People you know, I was climbing, I got hired to take a group up 𝗕ន់𝗃𝗃, and we decided we were going to do it quick. We were going to summit on the 4th day, and they say you should only do 7 days, you know, because, you know, it's dangerous. You can get pulmonary or cerebral edema. You're done. A couple of people died actually before we went and climbed. And, you know, people were saying to me, "Dan, that's dangerous what you're doing. You're going up quicker," and like that. And I said, you know what? I'm not scared of anything after I got through oxy. After I did that, no, nothing. Anything that scares me, I just think back to that time when I was going through that withdrawal for 5-6 days, and my body was like in just more, you know, terrible pain, you know, suffering. And I look back at that and I go, yeah, this is nothing. I can get through that. I can get through anything.
So just real quick, that's interesting. So when you were going through the withdrawal, I mean, that's got to be like, you know, when you get sick for a day or two and you feel like it lasts forever. I mean, for 6 days, I mean, you're in this like funk. I mean,
6 days before I felt like there was like hope, actually, because I remember I was explaining, it was like my bones were all broken. Like it was like I got ran over by a steam roller or something, and then sweating. Like I threw my bed out after I had to. It was like I couldn't believe it. Water, and then one of the doctors that I know gave me a lot of shit because he said, "Dan," he goes, you shouldn't have done that. You should have.
Yeah, it usually kills you.
Yeah, he said it could have killed you, and I said, well. Yeah. And, you know, and doing it even that way, I think it even made me more determined to figure out who I am and what I need to do in this life to thrive, to feel like I'm doing my part, you know, with the faith that I have. You know, I believe that, you know, the measure of who you are in life is how you make others feel. But first, you got to make yourself feel good. And I wasn't, you know, I was battling demons and stuff. And, you know, I took care of that stuff in the past, you know, and the family stuff and whatever, you know, my dad and all that kind of thing. I figured it out, you know, through some therapy. But even then, talk therapy's talk. And that's what I work with veterans and I work with military and law enforcement. I said, you don't have to tell me your problems. So we're going to do something about them now. Experiential. Because a part of my philosophy is knowing, give them some information, yeah, but doing and then being. That to me was how I, you know, was made, was that I learned stuff, but then I did stuff, and then I could be what I wanted to be again, you know. And then I found the yoga and breath work, Wim Hof. I mean, I traveled all over the planet looking for everything in the jungles of Brazil. I just wanted to learn how to feel better after being on that rock bottom, and then along the way, I'm learning all this stuff to make me feel better. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I need to teach this, right? And that's how all of this kind of got to this point.
All right. Well, that's a perfect spot to take a quick break real quick. Okay. So now we're back. We're talking to Dan, and we were talking about his 𝗕cie𝗿𝗁 adventures. So one of the things I want to talk to you about now is you said you went to Brazil.
Yeah.
And you went out. So tell me about that. That's interesting. That's not something the average person does.
Well, I spent, and this was just, leading up to, and I don't like to talk about the C word, COVID, but
yeah,
leading up to that, I was flourishing my wellness center, and I wasn't doing anything really online yet. And everything was going amazing. And then when everything got shut down, I kind of got bottled up in my house. And for me, I like to be out there. I like to be doing things. I like to, teaching. So I was trying to do it online. I was, shifting, pivoting over and all that. And then when I was in India, I met a girl from Brazil there. When my wife and I led a retreat over there. I took like 20 people over for, I think it was a 2-week retreat, and met so many people there. And one was a Brazilian lady who was into raw food, and she was into yoga and all this stuff. And she, took information, and she said, I would love for you to come and teach the ice bathing and the breathing stuff. And I can set it up. I have a whole community in Brasília, the capital of Brazil. We can go into the jungle, do retreats. And I was like, okay. So then it was during COVID, she'd reached out again and said, Ananda, and she said, Dan, she goes, why don't you come down now? You can't do anything. And I was like, yeah, up here in Canada, we couldn't make any money. And there's all kinds of money that I'm going to have to pay back anyways. So I was like, damn, I should try to make some money. So it was funny. We set it up for 6 months. And I decided I was going to learn Portuguese in 6 months too, because I wanted to go down there and teach it. So every day for an hour, I'm in this growth mindset thing. Hey, an hour every day, you practice something. In 6 months, you're going to be pretty damn good at it. So, I had all the stuff prepared for what we were going to do in the retreats and that. And then I was just studying. So when I got down there, met some amazing people. I was in the town of Brasília, did some workshops there, teaching the Wim Hof method, do the cold bathing and the breathing and self-awareness. Then went in and did a 5-day retreat in the jungle also, and taught there. And then when I was done, I went and spent some time with a shaman there, and went through all the stuff in the jungle with them and learned some more stuff. I was always trying to learn, and I loved my time in Brazil. The people are super, super happy. I mean, maybe it was the group I was hanging around, but the food was next level. Really enjoyed my time there. Like it was beautiful, and definitely will be going back. Hopefully they keep trying to get me to come back for another retreat. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I love Brazil. It was really nice.
What's it like being in the jungle though? I mean, that's like, are we talking like jungle, like real jungle stuff?
Yeah. I mean, being in the jungle, we went to this one place where we did some of the plant medicine stuff, and, that was.
Did you get in a tent, the big sweat tent, or what, like sweat box, or?
No. We drank some of the plant medicine down there, and when all of it's like, to me, I always explained it. Doing ayahuasca is like doing 10 years of therapy in one night. Yeah,
really.
That could be a whole other show, Larry. But
yeah, I was gonna say we need to. God, no kidding. That is so cool. So, So you do this, really helped a lot though. I mean, like your total trip to Brazil was amazing.
Oh, the trip to Brazil was amazing. I mean, learning, like to me, being around different cultures is the greatest education that we can give our kids. Before and I'll tell everybody, before you send them off to university, when they're done high school, let them go for a few months or take them. I'm going to take my son. He's done high school here. And I said, just wait, let's go. I want to show you Europe, where my family's actually from Spain, originally. So I want to show you all this. To me, that was the greatest education that I realized, oh my God, there's another world out here that has, and all that. So that was, to me, when I went to Brazil, I travel so much there, like every week I'm gone pretty much, right now working with football teams and stuff like that, and working in sports and working with CEOs and companies. I love going places because you really get to see how other people are, especially if it's in a different country. And I mean, you go down to Texas, actually, that's a different country down there, man. I went
That's where I'm from, man. I know. I tell people that
I
all the
know.
time. People, I say, where are you from? Well, I'm from Texas. I just live in Virginia. I still do that to this day.
I love Texas, man. I love the US. You know, I go there and it's so funny. It's like almost like each state's their own little country.
Absolutely.
I love that. That's why I love Europe, because, you know, an hour later I can fly and I can be in another country, you know, and see something so different, you know, because we do live in a beautiful place here, North America, but we're pretty quick and fast. It's like this: we eat fast, we work fast, we sleep fast. And then you go to other parts of the country and they look at us and they're like going, slow down.
It's going to be okay. I know. Like, we went to Italy the first time and it was like 2 hours to eat. I'm like, what the heck are these people doing? Like, I'm like, at 20 minutes, I'm like, why are we not leaving? And now you're just like, you're only on the second course or the first course. I don't even know. It's crazy. Like, it's so weird.
Yeah. And when you go, like, I just did some work with a company with a CEO down in Costa Rica, and he said, where do we want to go to heal? And I said, well, let's go down, and we'll go down to Costa Rica. And when he got there, it was like, everything's slowed down. You got to wait. And, you know, somebody like, you know, that's a life of decadence CEO, you know, these, going. And I'm like, no, come on, we got it. And then after a couple of weeks, he's like, oh my God, I get it now. Oh, this feels so good to just chill out, right? And I mean, the rest of the world, like, they see us like that. We work fast, sleep fast, I always say, and we eat fast. It's never ending. It's never ending.
So talking about this guy you went to Costa Rica with, so you take someone like myself who's been go. I'm 61. I'm starting to chill out. You know, I kind of use the runway analogy. I've got, you know, if I kill it, I got 20 years. So I'm starting to really settle down. Can that guy go and then come back to the U.S. and apply that, or is he going to have to do this over and over again for years to get that finally?
Well, Larry, I really believe in giving it the time that's necessary. See, we tend to overlook ourselves, and I want to talk about something that I invented, and I'm proud of this. The to-do list that we have. You know, imagine for a CEO, you know, all the moving parts, you got to keep an eye on everything. Everything's got to be, you got to. So 20 years of building a company, building it. Then you get, you know, more money. Then, you know, the jets, the PJs, private jets, they call it. I learned this kind of this terminology, and all this stuff. It's about more to feel something more. And then they get to the point where they just crack and they're not happy. They're unhappy. And they look around and go, I got jets. You know, I have a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I have every car. I have the nicest Porsche. I've got an $8 million beautiful house in Dallas. I got, you know, all these other, you know, condos, houses around the world, but I'm not happy. But then I always say, that's your to-do time. You forgot about the to-be list, and that's you. You got to work as hard on yourself as you do at your job, or even harder. So the turnaround is up to the person. That's why I said to him, I said, look, a couple days here and there, he's flying me into Dallas, like whatever, to work. And I'm like, no, let's go to Costa Rica for a month, see what happens. Give me a month straight, boom. Because, you know, he was quite lost at that time. He needed to reset. So, you know, switch the diet over, very alkaline, you know, getting into this really good rhythm. And then in a month, he's like, oh no, I need more, because he started to feel it. He's like, whoa. And, you know, we stuck with it until then. It was about 4 months later. And then, you know, I was going home every, you know, once a month for a week. My wife was getting flown in. We had that kind of in the contract. And then, you know, he was ready. Now he has tools. But once you come from that rock bottom, where I think he was, where I see a lot of the people that I work with, especially military, you know, people that are, you know, ready to check out, that's when you come out of it. And if you got to at least give, I always say, a month, you know, the 21-day thing, make things turn in from practice to habit. Then they can start becoming, even you practice it more, part of your personality. But I think that once you feel the pain that deeply, like he did, myself, then you look at it and go, I can never go back there. Because now as humans, when we feel something pleasurable, we like it, we do it again. That's the problem. But then if we put the work in and we see the progress, that's pure motivation. See, people say, I can't get motivated. Well, you need to see a little bit of progress. You need a little discipline. Then as soon as you work hard and get that progress, then it's motivation. All of a sudden the hip's not hurting. We're doing some yoga. All of a sudden your stress level's down. We're doing some breath work and mindfulness, cold bathing. People see that and they're like, but I think often, Larry, it comes from when you're at the rock bottom. You're at a place of suffering, and it starts to scare your mortality almost in a way. That panic attack. It's like, oh my God, you're having a heart attack. It's like, well, most of it's in your head, but it's stuck in your body. We can get rid of that, but we have to work at it. And that growth mindset, I tell people, I say, you don't have to do 10 hours of self-help work every day. Do 20 minutes every day. But then watch, that 20 turns into 30, turns into an hour. Next thing you know, you're realizing that, the to-do list, yeah, it's stressful, all the stuff we got to take care of. But that to-be list, as we get older, we start to think, I just want to, because us now, peace of mind at our age, peace of mind to us is happiness. That's happiness, peace of mind. It's not more. It's actually less.
Yeah, it's less. All right, that's a perfect spot to take a quick break for our sponsors. One moment. Okay, and now we're back with Dan. So Dan, we were talking about all this stuff and hitting rock bottom. And when we originally started, I thought of it, you have to wait for the guy to have the heart attack. I found that I had some health issues, scares, but it wasn't that catastrophic that made me switch. Do you find that, like, for me, I was on a podcast one day and this guy's like, this is what I do. And I'm like, it is now my time. And I've made that switch. So you take this guy, you went to the CEO and come back. Does he have to apply this and plan on taking months to apply 20 minutes a day? Then it gets to 30, where it does become, it's like for me now, it's a routine for me every day. And I live for that moment now more than I ever did. Like waking up not foggy because of alcohol or crappy food. I am so addicted now to feeling good that it's better than anything I ever had before. Yeah.
And for other people that I've worked with that, and I have a strict rule when I work performance, especially if it's with, elite athletes, NHL or whatever. I said, listen, you're hiring me to give you some stuff that you can do, teach you, but you have to be 100% in. If they're not, I'll even say I don't want to waste your money. Doesn't even mean anything to me, because I can be out helping somebody that's ready to be helped. If you're not ready, and that's my point is that when you're ready, you're ready. A lot of people won't be ready because the comfort, the self-awareness, and I always preach, this, and I practice what I preach because I have to meditate. I have to do my breath work for an hour every morning before I get out of bed, because I know that the rest of my day is going to go so much better if I don't. But I was ready for it. This last client was ready for it. People I work with, I can tell, and I have a very, very, very truthful talk with them that if you're ready to make some changes, then definitely let's work together. But often people aren't, because we're so programmed to be in such a comfort zone. Electronics, technology, all this stuff has us. I always say, use your phone, don't let it use you. And I think it depends when you're ready, and it usually now is a little bit later on. We have some people that are switched on, some young kids that are coming along, and they're seeing that it's also, when you're self-aware, I always say that you're coming from your heart. The vision's very clear. So your authentic life is right there in front of you to be who you're going to be. If you're in here, then the vision is going to be, you just fall in line like the others. And it's hard to find motivation. It's hard to see any progress because you're not putting the effort in. That's why I use the growth mindset just a little bit each day. But when I work with somebody one-on-one and we're putting the time in and watching them grow significantly and very quickly, but it does take discipline. And often they want to bring me in because having somebody there Now they have to be disciplined.
It's accountability.
Accountability is right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even with a lot of these, people that are, elite in their industry, captain, whatever, I'm brutally honest with them. And I'm like, okay, I wonder how this is going to go. But they see it. And if they're ready, they're ready. If their ego's in the way, I can't do anything about that. I can't force them to feel better or to help themselves. My point is they got to be ready, Larry. And I think everybody comes to that point in their life. But the problem is that most people do it when it's right at the end, when that mortality, okay? And they're like, oh no, I should have went to Europe. I should have done this. I should have done that. And realizing that life's so precious and we think we're going to live forever until we realize we're not. And then that's when that thing goes click. My dad couldn't quit smoking or drinking until the doctor said, you're stage 4 and you have a year, if you're lucky, maybe 5, if you're really lucky. And my dad said, I'll take 5. And he said, stop drinking and smoking that day. Couldn't quit for 60, 50 years, but he quit just like that. Not a problem.
Isn't that funny? I mean, because you know what my motivation was? I've been taking 4 blood pressure pills for 5 years. And I finally was like, I'm sick and tired. I started reading all this stuff about the crap I'm eating, which I was a fairly good eater. But then I started doing this holistic eating. I've been about 75, 80 days. I'm down to a half a pill in the morning and a half a pill at night. And I've always worked out, not as good as I am now, but got rid of all the crap. And now I'm like, what you had said struck me is like, I'm kind of frustrated because I'm like, I'm 61. What if I would have done this 20 years ago? Mm-hmm. Not because I may not even have gotten on the pills, right? And it's like that I did. And I just I stopped and my blood pressure got so low. My doctor's like, hey, you may need to go to the hospital. I'm like, I'm not going to the hospital. I just quit taking the pills. Because they're like gearing you like, oh, you're something wrong. You gotta go to the hospital. I'm like, well, maybe it's because I'm healthy there. I don't need all these freaking pills. And it's been a life-changing event for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's great when you get control back and you even feel that little bit of control, and that will motivate other things. There's another piece that let's add this piece to the puzzle, and the one thing, is the cold. I've watched people's blood pressure regulate so quickly from doing breath work, slow therapeutic breathing, along with cold. You don't have to do ice baths. You can do cold showers, but just something that triggers, almost that deep physiology that's inside of us that we had when we were a kid. We had lots of dopamine and adrenaline. We were running around. We were excited. And then as we get older, we lose it because we stop using. We lose it because we don't use it. And then that cold thing is, to me, one of the most powerful things I've seen to help switch people physically, mentally, and especially emotionally. Because if it's done properly, what it can do is it can give you those back, control over your health very quickly. And it awakens something up. Like almost like this beast inside of us, this animal, this carnal thing that we still have to have in us as men and women to get out there and to attack the day and get things done. And then people kind of get into that comfort. And the coffee is the only thing that wakes me up in the morning, but the coffee is the thing that's keeping you from sleeping at night. Like there's just, when I work with people, they're like, oh, really, coffee? I'm like, well, dude, watch what happens in 2 weeks. I'm sleeping now, 50% less anxiety, and blood pressure is regulated because coffee, and sorry to burst everybody's bubble, it constricts the veins, makes it harder for your heart.
And the pills you take is so they open your veins up so you don't have high blood pressure.
You can open your veins up by taking a cold shower. Maybe someday we'll do a show, Larry, you and I, and I'll show people how to actually do cold bathing the way that we teach the militaries, to use it as this unbelievable tool for self-awareness. But the physical benefits are just mind-blowing too, when done properly. Not fighting like Joe Rogan. We see him in that post 20 minutes shaking like a 50-cent guitar. I'm like going, oh my God, that's just the opposite way. Americans are like this, and Canadians. In North America, we like, okay, 2 minutes is really good. And we like her, well, 20's got to be better.
Makes sense. I did that. Yeah, I've got a great story. Yeah, I know we do that all the time. It's so funny. All right, that's a good place for us to take a break real quick. Okay, and welcome back again, Dan. So I want to talk about coffee now. We were just talking about that before the break. So do you eliminate coffee completely?
No. Oh my God.
Okay.
I love it much. Larry, I love coffee.
Okay, I was like, oh my gosh, because I'm down to 2 cups a day. You know, I'm doing all organic. I'm doing a French press. I mean, I'm like psychotic, right? I'm like, I don't even have filters, so I don't have any chemicals. And I drink my 2 cups. I feel great. I have no issues.
Fine. If you're sleeping at night, I say don't worry about it. I actually gave a talk in Brazil to a group, and there was like lawyers and, you know, doctors and stuff. And when I said that about coffee, it looked like they were going to throw me out of the country.
Oh, that's what I was like. Oh, that's not good. I like my coffee.
The one thing, okay, so there's 2 different kinds of people with coffee. There's usually the person that can have a cup of coffee and go to bed and sleep like you like no problem. Then there's people like me who, if I have a couple cups of coffee, it starts to almost like it builds up inside of me. And I won't get into the whole, it's like an adenosine, your energy. Anyways, it's the molecule of caffeine from coffee is just like it. So it replaces it, makes you feel like you're not tired, but the tiredness is always there. So you're masking. So you just continue. And then all of a sudden you're like having to wake up to feel normal, and it builds up for me. And then I'm not sleeping now. I'm getting anxiety and I'm feeling it. So what I do is I have very little coffee each day, but on Thursday I have this coffee club, this coffee chat thing with one of my online learning modules. And we do live Zooms and we have coffee chat. And I show people how to do it properly, roast your own, because coffee is, and I don't want to burst other people's bubbles, but it's one of the most contaminated things North Americans put into our body because we don't have no regulation on mold.
What about organic? Am I doing okay with that, or am I totally...
Organic's good. The problem is that when coffee beans are not stored correctly and stored for long periods of time, they break down the flavor, and also you get mold. So I think, you know, I mean, if a coffee bean has been roasted and sealed perfectly, you need to drink it within a month or 2. If it's been roasted, you know, perfectly cooled, so it seals in the stuff, then it's off gassed. There's a special process, and it's sealed after it's ground. You need to have it within a couple weeks or a week. That's why here we grind the coffee like this morning, you know, and then we let it sit for 24 hours in the freezer. And it seals in the flavor, and it can off-gas the CO2. But we have that coffee within a couple days of it. So we know that there's never, ever any mold or contamination. And you never do it past medium. And I know people like dark roast, but medium, once you get past that, you start burning a lot of the good stuff that's in the coffee that's actually beneficial to you. So, and lighter roast is actually more caffeine anyways. So, but
yeah, I've read that before. Like medium is, because I'm, like you just said, I like dark roast, right? I drink it black. I don't drink any sugar, no cream. And I love that flavor, but it's not as, and I've read that like medium actually has higher caffeine.
And it's better for you. And it has all the flavors. And, you know, to me, always, you know, I'll tell people if they're going to buy it and not roast it, get it from especially altitude. So there's no pesticides used because they don't use it in the mountains. Like that's why I always get Ethiopian. Or if I can find one in Costa Rica that's high in the mountain, it's got to be high enough also. But that way, then no pesticides, and there's actually less contamination, and breakdown happens a lot less. But that's one thing that the insects love coffee beans. So that's another big thing is try to find it, you know, look at the back and make sure it's done at altitude.
So can the average person just buy green or, you know, unroasted coffee beans?
Yeah, you can get green organic and just roast it yourself. Get a coffee roaster and you learn. You just read up on it. I mean, the beans actually crack. So when they first crack, that's like a blonde roast and like a popcorn kernel cracking. And then you hear it again. And then what happens is, oh, are we still there, Larry?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, we're still good.
And so what happens is that if after the second pop, like it's like popcorn, what happens is it's usually at medium roast then, and that's at about 12 minutes to 15 minutes at, I think, 230 degrees Fahrenheit. So
is it a big barrier of entry to get like a little coffee roaster, or I mean, is
no,
it like?
I have 𝗕cie𝗂𝘁𝘂𝘁. I have that posted on my site. All the
All right, I'll
products.
go. Yeah. Matter of fact, while we're saying that, what is your website? I've been on it. But
My website is just my name, Dan, 𝗕cie𝗂𝘁, DanDeLuise.com. And then on the gram, I'm at Dan_my last name, DELUIS.
yeah, because I follow you on Instagram. I listen to some of your videos in the mornings. It's harder because you're usually doing them about the time I'm trying to get my workout in. But yeah, I actually did a session with Dan, just so people know, with a buddy of mine. And so that's why we got in touch with Dan, and because I'm really intrigued by all this stuff. And a lot of it's, things that are kind of cool, but Dan's been doing this cool stuff way before it became kind of like, right, you were country before it was cool. I mean, you were already doing it. And now people are catching on, and they're like, oh, this actually works. Like cold plunge became big in the last 3 years, maybe before, but I got mine about a year ago.
Yeah, colds, because, and it's funny, somebody said that to me. They said, for some reason you get into the industry just before it goes. And I said, yeah, I get into it because I need to get into it for myself. But for some reason I find it, because when I started getting into yoga like 25 years ago, there was no Lululemon. There was no Lululemon store. No.
Who would have thought you'd pay freaking $100 for a pair of pants to stretch in? I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah. There's other ones
cheap.
Yeah, that's even cheap now. I think it's even more expensive.
Yeah, I think they are.
The same thing with the cold plunge. I just kind of found it when my dad was, getting ready to go down. My wife was sick and I tore my Achilles. I was like, holy cow, things came in threes that year, 10 years ago. And I was like, whoa. And I found the ice bathing really helped me with controlling and the resiliency of what was going on in my life. And it really helped me stay accountable and keep working through some of the things that were happening, because life was tickety boo, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. And that was just another one that came in. And then I decided I got to meet this guy. I got to learn all about this, and I'm going to start teaching this to everybody. And I did. And then all of a sudden, boom, a couple of years later, it is everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah,
I teach special forces. I teach teams. I've NHL players, NFL. Like now, I'm working with NC State down in North Carolina, and they all want to know, because it's just giving them the next level. It's just something else. But the problem is we're seeing it's not being done properly. And Johnny 𝗕cie𝗂𝘁𝘂𝘁, he'll even tell you, he did it with me. He was like, he came out of the first bath and it was like, oh my God. Like it was such a different, because people do it all the time, and they come to my facility here, and we got a pretty amazing thing with chiller units and everything, and hot tubs, saunas. And they do it, and they've been doing it for years, and they're like, oh wow, there's a piece inside of me. Now I know how to use this and harness the cold. Like I always say, you can take a magnifying glass and harness the sun and, make it that much more powerful. But the same thing can be done with the cold. This lens that you see it through, you can bring that energy in. And that's why the militaries love the way I teach. And, RBC, big banks, and, I teach leadership groups now and CEOs and the C-suite stuff. And they're like, holy cow. But it also, gives them the next level, but then can also help recorrect a lot of the stuff that's going on. Like I find that like people that are in, turmoil for many years and, apply breath work, cold bathing, all of a sudden they're like, just like that. Because especially in this day and age, everybody wants everything instantly. And the world's moving so fast, Larry, and it's, untrustworthy information. It's just, we're living in a world that's pretty chaotic. And this gives you that sense of well-being immediately. The world goes away. Because when you get into the cold, Larry, you're not thinking about your relationships, the bunny, the bills, picking the kids up, the fight you had yesterday. You're just like this going, okay, I got to deal with me right now. But if you do it in a certain way and certain techniques that we use, it's like, I watch it and I love it. It makes me feel amazing to see somebody just like, and they'll tell me, like the wife will phone me and say, he's made a 180 in less than a week. So.
Really? So I did I would get in mine for 3 minutes, 46 degrees. As soon as I got out, that's when I would go out and write in my book, because I had this incredible euphoric feeling for several hours afterwards, and I could focus better. And that's what I found. And that was from Larry Dix doing it. I read, because I know guys that I've heard like, oh, I try to stay in this thing for 20 minutes. And you're like, well, actually, that's horrible for you. And
it is.
And end up hurting you.
It does. It ends up hurting. And we even say, like, I work with fundamental researchers right now. And I'm so lucky to be with scientists that are all about the data. They say data talks, bullshit walks, kind of thing. And they said, like, people are experimenting on themselves right now in a dangerous way. Because I had one guy talking about Hunter's reaction is, when the vasoconstriction, and then it comes back even bigger once, it opens up and the body adjusts. But the body's not supposed to be exercised in that way, to be put through that kind of trauma, because trench foot and trench hands are something now that are coming back. They used to be just from the World War, when you were in the cold wet feet all the time for long periods of time, where it would squeeze all the blood and vasoconstrict, and you feel, and it, of course, it's squeezing and the peripheral nervous system.
Yeah, going to your organs.
Yeah, so it's all going here. But the thing is that if your hands and your feet are cold every day for 20 minutes, like really ice cold, you're squeezing that peripheral nervous system, where there's a myelin sheath on it that protects it, that actually communicates. And when it breaks and becomes bare, now the nerves are raw and bare. And now we see people where I try to talk to them, they get even upset. I go, you can't be doing 20 minutes. No, I do 20 minutes. Are you sleeping? No, I don't sleep that much anymore. I don't need it. And I'm like, no.
There's a reason.
There's a reason why you need sleep. But then I find out from people that'll tell me in the group, because I'll go in and educate groups, and they just don't want to hear. They don't want to hear me, and I'm like, oh, well, okay. Well, the special forces, and I even taught Nike Europe, and all these. They want to know about this. They want to know how to do it properly. And then I'll get a call, and they'll say, well, those ladies, they can't do it anymore because they're in chronic pain. So a lot of people are getting hurt from this. That's why, I want to, like, I'm putting a course out in my school platform again, just to educate people in it. It can be dangerous, but the only thing that adds danger to cold water is time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, our 45 minutes went fast. So first, I want to make sure you'll be willing to come on, and we'll do this again. Obviously, we won't be able to finish up with my fun question, but I'd love to have you back on and get into some other stuff, saunas. I mean, just some other things would be fun to talk about. Plus, I want to get up to your school, hopefully. And I think you have one in January.
I have a 5-day winter experience here, where I put you through the paces, but when you leave here, you're on a full reset. And of course, Larry, I'd love to come back and we could have another chat.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Do I have to be in like super good shape when I come up there?
No.
I'm in pretty good shape, but I mean, I didn't know if I need to be ready to run a marathon.
I mean, I showed my wife that you sent me the video of you in that car.
Oh yeah. Yeah. How cool is that?
Dude, that was amazing. I was listening to it. I was actually with the team in North Carolina, and I was listening to it going, oh my God, it just sounds like so powerful. Like I couldn't imagine being in the cockpit, dude.
Yeah. When I went to Daytona last week, I got to my car red limit at 173 miles an hour. That's as fast as that 911 will go.
Oh, wow. Well, that's pretty.
I'll send you a video of me passing a guy coming out of what's called NASCAR 4 at 170 miles an hour, and I took 8th place. So I'm kind of a mid-packer now. So I'm actually really racing, and it's high intensity. It's fun.
That video, man. I want to see it.
Yeah, I'll text it to you. So I like to end my podcast with the question of, well, we've gone through all this stuff. I listened to some of your early stories. So do you think you were born, or do you think you were made?
I think a little bit of both. I mean, the made part is the lucky part that I got. And the made part is the passion. I mean, I didn't have passion for life, and the passion I had was misdirected because of, some mental health issues that I had. And I didn't know how to deal with them, because back then, when anxiety, depression was like, yeah, right. What's wrong with
Whatever.
you?
Yeah.
Hey, staying home, what's wrong with you? You're weak, kind of thing, especially coming from a man. But once I started reaching out for help, when I hit that rock bottom, I started to rebuild myself. So, I was born into a situation, but I made myself into who I'm supposed to be. And I really seen it as, I'm not what, and it taught me a lot of these things that I've learned is that I'm not what happened to me. I'm what I choose to become. And I really feel that once I started to ignite that beautiful feeling that we all have as kids where anything is possible, that light is still in all of us. It's just, the to-do list gets so big and life gets so crazy and chaotic that the chaos is happening around us, Larry, and we're letting it happen to us. So we lose who we are. And when I learned that the chaos can be happening around you, but it doesn't have to happen to you, that's when I could see inside my heart and my vision was clear of what I'm supposed to do. And when when I was running around after being in bed for 2 years, I said, I'm going to teach the world this. And my Swami, my teacher, even said, he goes, you're going to do big things. You're going to be in front of big crowds. You're going to help a lot of people. And I really held that close to my heart. And I stayed with the integrity of what I wanted was to keep learning, never stop learning about me first. And I was like, torture yourself, climb up those mountains in your shorts at -50 with Wim Hof. But then, figure it out if it works for you. And then I was very lucky that it fell the way it did into place, but it did because I had direction now and I could see where I wanted to be. So I really do believe that I was not born into this. I was actually born into the opposite of it. And then I had to make myself. So I believe I guess I am made to a certain degree. And I'm going to keep making shit, Larry. I'm not going to stop.
Yeah.
Stuff. And I don't think we could ever stop the evolution of who we are. And that's by taking back control of physical, mental, but especially the third one that's overlooked is emotional well-being. And when you got that, and the doors would just start swinging open.
Perfect. That was beautiful. Thank you very much. That was a great, that was a great answer. Really enjoyed that. And thanks for your time. And I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.
I'd love to be back, Larry. Anytime, my man.
All right, buddy. Take care. Good seeing you.
All right. Much love.
Bye-bye. All right. We're off now. So that was great. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Is that the way you wanted it to go?
Yeah, it's perfect. I just go where it takes us, man. That was beautiful. I had no issues at all. Everything was perfect. And it'll be a fun one. Yeah. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. At any time, Larry, if you want to have me back on or whatever, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. Guaranteed. And I'm serious. Hopefully I'm going to look at because I don't have a lot going on in January. I may try to figure out how to come up there. So maybe me and John, because, I've actually never physically met John either. I talk to him all the time and he's actually doing a painting for me right now.
John says he is coming up, I think. And I think we might even have 𝗕cie from the Minnesota Vikings coming up, but also, okay. But I only allow at the most 10.
Yeah, I knew you didn't have a big crowd. How many slots do you have available right now? Do you know?
Right now, I think we have 5 people, but then it fills up it always fills up like around this time of year because it's in January, right? So people will give it to somebody as a gift in November. And a lot of them, like 2 people are just signing up now because they know that the spots will go. But, you and John, of course, for sure.
Has John signed up yet?
No, he hasn't.
Okay. All right, I'll reach out to him today.
Shoot him a message. And I'm not even sure. I think even Coach Dorn from North Carolina might even be coming up then too.
Yeah, that's his big buddy too, right?
Yeah. He's the coach from North Carolina State Wolfpack. So,
okay.
But it'll be a great one. You don't have to be in like super shape. That's the thing is that it's such a transformational process that we do. That you leave almost like you just shed everything that's been just weighing you down over the years, and it's almost like you get a complete reset. You get to start again. and the years just, you're ready to rock. Kind of like, it's like what I did with John in that first weekend with him, but that was just 3 days. This one, you come in Thursday and you leave Monday. Okay. And of course, you guys are even in my house, man. Like, I bring you here, but you even go into my house, and that's where I fresh roast the coffee.
All right, good. I'm going to learn how to do that. All right, I got to jump to my next one. So have a great day. Good seeing you.
All right, much love. Thank you so much, Larry. Take care, buddy.
Bye-bye now.